every meditation I start with the beautiful chant, the hymn to Brahma. So I'd like to play and sing it for you, and first in Sanskrit and in English, and then I want to say a few words about it. Brahmananda Parama Sukadam Kevalam Jnanamurti Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasi Yadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarayitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. So full of bliss, he gives joy transcendent of higher knowledge, the abode. Do well no more, as the heavens is clear, known to all as thou art there. He is all pure, enduring, unmoving, the everlasting seer of all, far beyond thought, beyond qualities all. Guru Lord, I bow to thee. Guru Lord, I bow to thee. The hymn to Brahma, beautiful words and a beautiful melody. Perhaps you've noticed that I changed the English translation at a few points, 4 or 5. And interesting question is, am I allowed to do that? Well, I changed it from the standard translation in the book Cosmic Chants, the chants of Master and chants that he translated. So in all the SRF meetings, meditations, there is a standard translation, and I changed a few words here and there. Now there's an interesting story that suggests you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't change things that Master put out. I don't remember the names and certain details, but I remember the story very well. A true story. One of the nuns living at Mount Washington when Master was alive, she, in a certain period, started to have thoughts like, well, Master is saying that, but I don't think that's correct. Or, well, Master is doing this, but should he be doing that? Wouldn't he be better do it differently? And so she was struggling with this. On top of that, something else happened. She used to play tennis with Master, Perhaps you know that on the grounds of Mount Washington there was and still is a tennis court. And Master was a good tennis player, and he enjoyed playing now and then with residents and maybe also visitors. And during this period she started to think, he's not playing fair. I mean, she had been playing for quite some time, but with him, without any problem, it was always enjoyable. But now she started to think, he's saying, well, that ball was out, but I'm pretty sure it was in. Or when she would serve, he would say, yeah, it was a net ball. And she would think, no, it wasn't. And Master would make these different calls, and she didn't really dare to object, so Master basically cheated, and he won the games. So she really had a hard time with this, understandably. And at some point she talked about this with one of the older and wiser nuns. I don't remember which one. Could be Sister Gyanamata or I don't know, Dayamata. And she explains that she was struggling with this, and the wise nun listened and listened, and after she had poured her heart out, she only said, never try to beat the guru. And she wanted to sort of object to it, but then she realized I'd better meditate on this and think about this. And so she did, and she started to realize that her tendency to think, Master does this, but he should be doing that, or it came from ego and the resistance to surrender. So she worked on this, and she overcame this tendency, and lo and behold, she never told Master anything. But from the moment she had overcome this tendency, she noticed he didn't cheat anymore during their tennis games. But he still beat her. Well, this is a fun story and very instructive. So, it's a good argument against changing things that Master did or wrote or put out, and certainly against thinking I can do it better. Is there also an argument to be made for these changes that I made in the English translation of the hymn to Brahma? I'll tell you a different story. That's not a true story. There was this girlfriend that I had, and one day I decided to propose to her. So I got on my knees and I said to her, I am giving you this ring because your qualities are so heavenly that my love for you is permanent. She said no. I guess you understand what I'm talking about. In the English translation of the Sanskrit words, there are these words that are, sort of awkward. Their emphasis is on the wrong syllable. So for me as a musician and a writer of songs, it feels really difficult to sing the English text in the standard way, and so I came up with these small variations that make it more fluid, I think. Now, I would never dream of doing that with a poem that Master wrote. And also, of all the poems I read that Master wrote, I've never thought, oh, I would like to change this line because that would be better. In this case, the hymn to Brahma, it's part of the Guru Gita, which is an ancient text. It's in one of the Vedas, and it's a conversation between Lord Shiva and the goddess Parvati, in which Shiva explains everything to her, and this is an explanation of the greatness and the importance of the Guru. So there are these Sanskrit words, and they have a meaning. The same word can have slightly different meanings, so when you translate, you always have to juggle a bit. And there are different translations, and I changed the lyrics in English just to suit myself and to feel happier when I sing this beautiful chant. Now, would Master mind? Would he object to this? I don't think so. Master wrote lots and lots and lots of poetry and prose, as you know, and he had people editing his words. Probably not his poems, I'm not sure of that, but certainly his prose. And why? Well, I think simply to save himself time. See, writing a book is the fun part. There's inspiration and it flows and you write and it's all nice. Now, to make a book you've written into a book that's published, that's a totally different thing. That is hard work, difficult work, and it's not a matter of inspiration, because the inspiration is already there, and you have to work with words and you have to work on the material plane, because words are on the material plane. So Master left the editing of his works mainly to Taramata, who was excellent at it, and Master was full of praise for her. He said without her the autobiography would not have come out. Well, one can't overestimate the importance of the autobiography for us disciples, but for the world as a whole. So she played a very important role in Master's life and in the spreading of his teachings. So I hope that I made these little changes to the English translation in the spirit of Taramata, and I can only imagine that if she was asked to edit the translation, she would try to replace a word as permanent with a word with a similar meaning that has the emphasis naturally on the second syllable. So I chose enduring. Another option might have been forever. Now, I don't know, it's possible that there are people who hear this and think, oh no, this is all wrong and you can't do that. And if we start to change things that have been put out officially, this is going to lead to watering down of Master's teaching, etc. And the funny thing is that usually writers themselves are pretty relaxed about it. I remember one time I was to play the guitar to the chants in what is called in Ananda the Festival of Light. That's part of the Sunday service that Swami Kriyananda created. And once he was in Holland, and so I was to play, but we didn't have the sheet music or the chords, so I had to work from memory. And Swami Kriyananda and I sat down and we went over the 4 chants. Now the last chant, some years earlier, I had suggested to one of the musicians at Ananda, you know, it's being played like this, but doesn't it flow more easily if we do it like that? Just a little minor change in chords. And he had said, no, we have to play it like that because it's written and we have to play it as Swami has written it down, etc. So, and on this occasion we went over the chants, and I said to Swami Kriyananda, well, we could play it like this, or we could maybe play it like that. And what do you think? And he said, because he didn't remember the chords either. So he said, yeah, that second thing, that sounds good. Let's do it that way. And later I realized that unknowingly the first version that I had played was the official version at Ananda, and the second version was the version that I personally preferred. But at the time I just played these things and I didn't realize that. So, just goes to show, sometimes we disciples, we think we have to do this to uphold the whole structure of what has been created, and if we allow one little thing to sort of gradually evolve, then the whole building will come tumbling down. Whereas the people that built the building, they realize, everything is in flux anyway, and this building has not been built to stay forever, this beautiful building. It has been built to serve people, to help them to find God. And if in that building one little thing is later changed because it's found that, well, actually it's a little more fluid, or times have changed and people understand, people need a different illustration, and the illustration that was part of the building is sort of, outdated, or it doesn't appeal to people anymore, or people don't recognize it anymore. No, you look at the essence and then you make a different illustration. It's not the end of the world, it's just the way life is. It's a flow. So let's go with the flow and just make sure that we stay in tune with Master. And if you stay in tune with Master, you will feel what is something that you really shouldn't touch, and what are things that you have to take the essence and live with it and allow it to evolve.